Peter Walton's watching. What did you think of that one, Peter?
He's a lucky man, actually. He's just timed it well enough to catch the ball. But as Jermaine said, a lunge there is a risk that the player takes when he's losing possession of the ball to get the ball back. And in the laws of the game, if you lunge at an opponent, it's a red card offence. And what he's done there is just timed it enough to get himself that ball. Clearly a yellow card for the reckless nature of it. I actually think he's hurt himself here by jarring his knee when he gets that ball.
I think the clash knees. I think it was Palinia's knee that was on the ground, smashed straight into Cooper's trailing knee, and he just probably just got a bit of a dead leg of some sort with clash knees. But yeah, I agree with what Peter's saying there. He's massively in the wrist. And talk about his finish, technique to kind of get your knee over it. I think from Belle's point of view, there, I mean, like that over the crossbar. You know, what can we do with it? He'll be asking question marks probably on his centre halves and his defenders saying, "Who are you?" for the knockdown. But he has to do more with it. But it landed at a technician's feet, and that's what the technical players have the ability to do. Wherever that ball lands, they're creative enough to get their body into the position to get the right strike on the ball and hit the back of the net.
Nice one for Harry Wilson. He's had a quite frustrating season in terms of finding starts in the Fulham Premier League side. It's only his 5th start, in fact, today in the league. There was a time, wasn't there, when it looked like Fulham might have really challenged for a place in Europe. That probably isn't going to happen as De Cordova really as the Leicester go down, having taken a knock. Will be in this midweek, and Fulham, by the way, on Tuesday night have to go and play away at Aston Villa. Completely flying. Coming up in midweek, a massive midweek of very important games, and they're all on BT Sport, including Leicester against Leeds United, game at the bottom, Villa playing Fulham, Manchester City Arsenal, the big one on the top on Wednesday night, Spurs against Manchester United on Thursday night. Select which game you want to watch, and we'll have them all for you.
City Arsenal, that's a game that is.
Yeah, particularly after what happened last time. They've let 7 goals in the last 3 games.
You know what they need to
Arsenal.
do. It's as simple as that.
I think you've just got to expect the unexpected, haven't you? Because what happened last night was pretty unexpected. Predictions make fools of us all, usually. Towards Patrick Bamford. Probably some goal in the Palace game, but Leeds had committed a long forward there. Could they be caught on a break? Robertson's easily quick enough to latch onto that. He's got 4 to aim at in here, and it's going to be another goal for Pereira. Fulham pulling away here, and Leeds sinking deeper into the mire.
Well, he's asking the questions, Melia, but it's almost a carbon copy of the first goal. The concern is how easy it was to break off at Leeds. It was the first time in the game they opened up and managed to get 4 goals at once. But then straight after that, it's on the other side of them, a little push from Harry Wilson. And then you're attacking them. You're in behind them, no one's breaking up play, no one's slowing you down. And the ball in from
7 games remain for Leicester City and they're all massive. The first of those is today as Wolves are in town. It's the first home game in charge for new manager Dean Smith, and he'll be targeting his first 3 points to lift the Foxes out of the relegation zone. Here's our commentator today, Chris Parrott, with all the team news.
Thank you, Dan. And he will have to do without 2 of his star men because James Maddison is ill and doesn't make it. Harvey Barnes also absent again with his hamstring injury. So all 3 of Leicester's strikers start together. Jamie Vardy, Patson Daka and Kelechi Iheanacho. This is the 11, Daniel Everson in goal. The back 4 is Timothy Castagna, Wout Fass, Chala Soyuncu and Victor Christensen. Buba Sumare and Yuri Tielemans hold. And then in front of them, it will be interesting. We think it's going to be 3 with Tete, Iheanacho and Daka behind Vardy, whose last Premier League goal was against Wolves in October, nearly 6 months ago. On the bench for Leicester, Danny Ward, Harry Souttar, Dan Amati, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, Papi Mendy, Wilfred Ndidi, Dennis Pratt, Luke Thomas and Wanya Marcel Madavadua. From Wolves' perspective, Julen Lopetegui does not change a winning team, despite having Ruben Neves available again. Diego Costa's recovered from a knock and starts up top for them. They have Jose Sarr in goal, a back 4 of Nelson Semedo, Max Kilman the captain, Craig Dawson and Totti, Mateus Nunes, Joao Gomez, Mario Lemina and Pablo Sarabia. The midfield 4 with Mateus Cunha and Costa up top. On the bench for Wolves, Daniel Bentley, the sub-keeper, Nathan Collins, Pedro Neto, Ruben Neves, Daniel Podence, Hee-Chan Huang, Joao Moutinho, Adama Traore and Hugo Bueno. But from Leicester's perspective, the big news, no James Maddison, who is ill.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, some surprising team news there. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Welcome along, though, to Matchday Live here on LCFC TV with me, Dan Bates. We've got 2 former Leicester players on the sofa today. Matt Elliott is on co-commentary. Later we'll hear from him, but for now we've got former Leicester striker Matty Fryatt and former defender and League Cup winner Jerry Taggart with us. Good afternoon to you both. Always nice to be reminded of that, Jerry, isn't it?
It's a distant memory, but yes, always nice to be reminded. I'm very well, thanks, Dan. Yeah.
FA Cup semi-final day today, of course. They bring back memories for you, not in a Leicester shirt, obviously, but fond memories, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, good day. Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah, good day, good game. 8 goals in that one, so don't normally get that in a semi-final, but 8 goals, but for a different team, so.
not quite as distant as yours, Jerry.
Obviously not.
Jerry's was back in the war.
I think, yeah.
Big one today, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm just. I was probably still thinking about, just watching the teams coming onto the screen there, and obviously the absence of James Maddison through illnesses. It's a massive blow, you have to say. I was at the game last week in Manchester, and he stood out like a sore thumb yet again. So for him to be missing today in a game of this magnitude is bitterly disappointing. But in saying that, I think if Kelechi Iheanacho plays in that position, in that number 10,
do we think it will be like that?
I would say so. I can't. It wouldn't suit Daka and it wouldn't suit Tete. So, yeah, Iheanacho is probably the most natural player to put in that position beside James Maddison. So yeah, it's a plan B, you have to say, but hopefully they will have worked on it all week.
Yeah, it's full on gung-ho, isn't it? All out attack. Can that front 4 go and win the game? And then the others behind, can they be solid? Can they protect it? Can they be resolute? But then it's the case of can the front 4 go and win the game? It's always difficult, I find, when you have a forward playing out wide. Maybe not a natural wide player or one that can prefers to play up front in Daka, but be interesting to see how he fares out there, but maybe utilised with his pace up against a pacey player in Semedo, so it might match there. But good to see Iheanacho with that support between himself and Vardy. I haven't seen too much of that this season, so they normally combine well, get goals between them and gets that support, but you'd think Iheanacho would play in the hole. One thing Iheanacho always seems to do, whether he has the best games or not, he's always involved. whether he gets the chances or puts it away, but again came on last week and made a difference. So it's good to see that he's starting, and can he have that impact and playing in his preferred position of that 10. But sometimes he'll go beyond Vardy and he'll just be interlinking, and that combination of dropping short, one in behind, one dropping in, but they've got that relationship from before, and it'll be interesting to see. But pretty much looks gung-ho. Can Leicester go and attack? Can their firepower outdo Wolves, and anything defensively, can it be secure? But it's a bold move. I do admire it. Just hopefully you get the fruits of that early doors, and then you can go from there in terms of the attacking momentum.
Yeah, we'll continue talking about that team news, in particular that front four, if you want to call it that, in just a moment. We've got plenty to get through here on Matchday Live, though, this afternoon as we build up to kick-off, which is just under an hour away. Massive game at home to Wolves. We'll look back on that defeat at Man City a week ago, but there were some very positive signs, particularly in the second half. We'll hear potentially from Harry Suter, Australian defender, of course, has been previewing this game with Wolves, and we'll take a look back at some classic goals as well, scored against a fairly local opposition in Wolverhampton, one cross. Matt, have you ever played in a team where there's been that many forward-thinking players on the pitch in one game?
Yeah, we've had it before. I've played in teams where we've played 5 up front, so we've had 2 as the 2 forwards, 1 in behind, and then 2 forwards out wide. It's a little bit different forwards serving the forwards, especially if you're an out-and-out forward. To go out wide and play it a different way. Tetty's a little bit different, attack-minded player, but naturally a winger. It'd be a little bit different for Daka, but he might have them runs from out to in, across the line, something different. So you'd say 3 forwards playing there, and it's a case of movement. Can they identify the space between themselves? But yeah, as your point said, I've played with 5, and it doesn't always necessarily work, because as much as you've got players that can score, forwards rely on service as well, so you've got to get the balls into them. So it's good to see Tillemans is playing again. Can he feed the balls into those forward players?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, with Daka, especially if he is on that left-hand side, as we think. It's a bit of an unknown quantity.
Well, they've had to roll the dice, lead, and
maybe a bit unsure of the runs that he's going to make, to try and get on the end of the ball, or get himself in the box when the ball's on the opposite side. So Victor Christensen has a very important role today, backing him up. And because he loves getting forward, you would have to say will be used as another forward option, i.e. getting forward and putting crosses into the box and backing up the runs that Daka makes. Now, the problem arises for Leicester is when the ball breaks down on that side, and Daka's then having to turn into a defender. So it'll be interesting and very, very important to see how he reacts to those sort of situations.
We saw a brilliant goal there from Daka with his left foot cutting in on that side, so it'd be interesting to see what he can produce on the left, cutting in on his stronger right foot.
Yeah, you think so. At the same time, there's another option, attacking the ball from when Tetty might cross it. Have another addition, tracking that back post. Could he get goals from there? Little knockdowns, being inside the 6-yard box, and get,
because that's his bread and butter. He knows how to do that.
Knows them runs. It's a little bit different from a forward thing, but it's the same thing. Can you tap the back post? Can you anticipate chances in them right positions? In terms of a defensive aspect, it might be a case of, do you press every player on and squeeze Wolves hard so they can't get out, so you're actually limiting Wolves to actually play, push the 4 attacking players on, and then it might be a case of recognising the space behind, but the front 4 are literally anything that's played short, they're on top of the Wolves defensive players and squeezing in the play.
Yeah, there's been an issue this season and in other seasons where the Leicester are getting into forward positions and haven't got enough players in the box. You would like to think that will not be an issue today. With the lineup. Well, and I'm sure that Dean Smith in the training sessions are telling the players, you must be in the box. We've got 3 centre forwards on the pitch. If we're in forward positions, you have to be in a position to attack that ball in the box. So there's no excuses for having Jamie Vardy as the only striker in the opposition's penalty box when the Leicester are in forward positions.
big role still for Jamie Vardy, but it might suit him having these players around him.
I think so. As Jerry said, at times there's been, especially this season, where there's been an isolation where the centre forward, the 9 as such, has been left by himself. Can he get hold of it? Can he make something happen? But sometimes it hasn't had bodies around him. Jamie Vardy thrives with having someone close by, whether it be Iheanacho, James Maddison, for them through balls. And even if it doesn't go through to James Maddison, it might be the second ball. Kalichi might pick up the second ball and then he's onto it, and can he get a shot away? But thrives more with bodies around him, whether it be in the first ball in behind or the second ball, and then again bodies around the box. But then got to beware defensively. Can you secure that area so when the ball comes out, it can't happen unless they can pick up that second ball, maybe recycle it, ball into the box, and then get numbers again with the 3 attacking players, different movements, and can they get across the front of defenders?
We saw Jamie Vardy in one of those clips speaking to John Terry, of course, one of the 3 new faces at the training ground, including Craig Shakespeare, of course, as well as Dean Smith, who took charge of his first Leicester game a week ago. It was a tough assignment at the Etihad, but they showed real fight in the second half.
His confidence can't be great, but you know,
many tougher tasks in world football at the moment than taking on Manchester City here at the Etihad Stadium, winning 23 of 25 games here this campaign, losing just once, but it's the task that awaits Dean Smith as he takes charge of his Leicester City side for the first ever time. Norwegian international who scored 45 goals so far this season. Ball bobbling on the edge of the box, and a stunning strike from John Stones has given Manchester City the lead after 4.5 minutes. The corner wasn't dealt with, came to Stones 18 yards out, caught it sweetly, and it's rifled into the top right corner of the goal. Grealish on the left side goes beyond his man on the touchline. Claims of handball, certainly by the fans and the players. Referee points for a corner. He's checking the screen, which normally ends one way. Referee says penalty. Denny runs up, Denny strikes, and it is right in the corner. Everson had gone the right way, but the quality of the finish, as it has been all season from Erling Haaland, was exceptional. De Bruyne has got it and he's racing through the middle with Ndidi trying to get back towards him. De Bruyne finds Haaland. He's got his second goal of the game. Leicester losing possession in the midfield area, and Manchester City fully capitalising on that mistake. Maddison floating the ball to the far side, shoots it down with a great save in by Iheanacho. Scores against his former club once again, as he did here last season. Maddison, first time ball to Iheanacho, what a ball! And Iheanacho has come off the post! So close for Leicester, and Iheanacho to get a second. The pass from Maddison, sublime, absolutely perfect.
Andres Pereira, the other goal scorer.
Yeah, but well, a little bit of a story of what could have been in that second half against Manchester City. Obviously, the first half dominated by the home side, but Leicester had the chances to get an equaliser in that one, in Dean Smith's first game in charge, of course. Today being his first home game in charge. Interesting team news coming out of the dugout from a Leicester City point of view. 4 very attack-minded players in forward-thinking positions. Daka on the left, Tete on the right, we think Iheanacho in behind Jamie Vardy. There was a goal there, a real striker's finish from Kelechi Iheanacho, Matty in that game, and it'd be interesting to see the role that he plays today in behind Jamie Vardy. And we know, and we've already talked about him getting up and supporting and being an extra body up there, but he was brilliant against Man City when he came in.
It makes a difference. I'm a big fan of his, actually. Maybe could affect games more from when he starts, but it certainly has an impact on games. Whether he scores, you always know he's played a game, and he does get himself in them positions, and it's a case of can you finish him. But that one's perfect sort of forward one. The knockdown, he's anticipated the second ball and just taps it home, but he's in the right position, and then it lifts everyone else, and then that chance, he's unlucky with the one that hits the post. You could say maybe City put the foot off the gas, but at the same time it's a decent chance and it's narrow margins, and whether he'd got that or not, whether it be a little bit more or Leicester could have salvaged something from the game, but it was always going to be a bonus against City. But I think he makes a difference. And he earned his chance in terms of the cup games, came in and scored off the bench, and then scored against Villa, scored against Tottenham, and then unfortunately for him the Southampton game got chances and then hasn't really had too much of a look in, but then new manager in and then goes and scores, and that's all he can do, and he does make an impact in games. So it'd be interesting today, and especially being used to playing with Jamie Vardy as well.
Yeah, he's a conundrum for me. No matter he's waxed lyrical about him, and rightly so, because he makes an impact, and then he gets a deserved start. 1 game, 2 game, 3 game. A couple of seasons ago, he had a long run in the team. He ended up top goal scorer, I think, this season. But it's just this consistency. And we're always chatting about Iheanacho. You know, people have different opinions on him. You cannot doubt the guy's ability, his finishing prowess, his awareness. You know, his all-round game is good. It's just finding those levels consistently, and yet again, as you say last week, it's a pure poacher's goal, but you've got to be in the right place at the right time. You've got to anticipate, you know, the header from the Harry Suter, and he was the only player, Leicester player, in that 6-yard box, you know, waiting for a knockdown, and because he read it well, you know, he gets a little bit lucky. But you know, I always say you make your own luck in those areas of the pitch anyway. For me, it's the consistency. Today he has another opportunity to shine.
Will it help him that he isn't the lone striker, if you like, that he's behind Jamie Vardy? Maybe he doesn't feel the pressure as much?
Yeah, listen, you'd have to ask him that, but I think he probably enjoys playing up alongside the partner. You've seen it last week when Daka and Iheanacho come on the pitch. You've seen that connection. You've seen it a couple of games ago here.
I think in a game that's been really scrappy and messy.
Game escapes me.
Some quality to the
where
table, played a big part in.
They were very, very unlucky with the link-up play. It might have been against Chelsea, actually. It was against Chelsea, where the link-up play was very, very good at times and just didn't quite come off. So yeah, I would say that Iheanacho will be buzzing today because they've got 3 strikers on the pitch.
Do you think at the same time, is it the consistency in his game, or that he hasn't had a consistent amount of games? Because I always find he comes into a couple and then he's out again, and it's always difficult as a forward where you're unsure, are you going to start, are you going to come on, and he does seem to impact games a lot more when he comes off. But at the same time, because he doesn't know he's going to start regularly, do you think that impacts his overall performance, because then he finds it difficult consistency, or is it more a mindset?
It's hard to say, but I think, you know, he's been around the club long enough now, you know, to get his mindset right, whatever situation's thrown at him, whether he's starting or not. And I think, you know, obviously up until this point, Jamie Vardy was the #1 striker, because the stats will tell you he was banging all the goals in and doing, you know, the lion's share of the work off the ball, running the channels, whatever you want to call it. And obviously Kelechi isn't the same type of player, so I actually don't think him playing up front on his own suits him in the same way you would start Daka up front, or the same way you would start Vardy up front on their own. So again, it's a bit of an issue that over the course of the season, Leicester and Kelechi Iheanacho in particular just haven't seemed to have been able to unlock that door fully. It's half unlocked, the door's, you know, ajar a bit, but yet he's peeping through, and we need that door to be swung open for Kelechi to go through it and start shining like on a consistent game-by-game basis.
So today he's in his preferred role, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Goes in behind, and then he can go behind if needed, but should be set up for him today. Vardy making them runs in behind, find the space in between. It doesn't really suit, as Jerry said, in the 4-3-3 as the lone forward, because at times you don't see a lot of the ball. He likes to see the ball. It's a case of can he find the spaces today and be in the right areas and mix it up as well. It's not always coming short. Sometimes you might go a little bit longer, or find yourself in the 6-yard box just because Jamie Vardy might be in there, or Patson Daka. Also get yourself in there, because you'll get your goals. We know he can score from distance, but at the same time you get more goals inside the 18-yard box.
At the other end of the pitch, Jerry, it was a back three last week away at Manchester City. Today it's back to the normal two, Soyuncu and Wout Faes. What do you make of that as a back two, in particular Kaglar Soyuncu? He impressed, didn't he, last week?
Yeah, he did. You know, he's an international footballer. You know, simple as that. For what, you know, we spoke about it last week or during the week. For whatever reason, for whatever issue you had with Brendan Rodgers, I think when you end up finding yourself in a position in the league table that Leicester did, I think as a manager you have to call on every player at your disposal, because obviously there's still injuries, players are missing, but he's been a constant there in the squad but not getting the game time. He's come back in, I don't know, is that only his second Premier League game of the season? Second start, yeah. And I thought he'd done well.
Ironically, both against Man City.
And yeah, both against Man City, yeah, absolutely. So, and that's not easy in itself. So he's come in and he's done well. And as you say, they've slightly changed it. Probably a little bit easier to come and play in the back three as a centre half, that is. So we'll see how he gets on today. But definitely it's a plus having him back in the squad and in the team.
He showed how good he is on the ball, didn't he? At the Etihad last week.
Yeah, and again, you know, it's been one of those issues for Leicester in recent times that they've got centre halves who can play football, but sometimes in the wrong areas and at the wrong times. But last week he did, I would say, and there was no glaring areas, let's put it that way, from Soyuncu last week, and that's again a big plus, because we have seen a couple of manufactured situations trying to play from the back where they've come unstuck from the centre half.
He's no nonsense.
Yeah, as you touched on that, he can play, but at the same time he knows when to get rid of the ball. If it's in a risky position, just clear your lines, get forward, and it's competitive. Obviously Dean Smith has admired him from far, playing against Leicester previously, and looked at him, and Jerry said, an international player, but came in from the cold against Man City, performed well, and then in again, but the manager's seen something, whether it's in training or from previous, and said, no, we want this player involved, and he's gone with the back four and kept with Kaglar in the team, as opposed to maybe it would have been the easy one to say you're coming out seen as you're the extra one in terms of the back three, but gone, no, you're my guy, I'm sticking with you. And the performance last week certainly did enough to start again, but he's gone, no, you're my player, whether you've played much previous or not. If you're good to go, and obviously from the performance against Man City, gone, no, you're going to play in the back four and do what you can do, and you're a good player.
Dan, Leicester need a clean sheet desperately. They haven't had one since West Ham away in November, the last game before the World Cup break up. And as I said before, to have a centre half who's fit and ready to go, just sat on the sidelines doing nothing, where you watch your teammates and you watch the goals going in at the wrong end of the pitch. Something has to change. And okay, listen, last week was Man City away. You know, they're on this massive run at the minute, big momentum following them. So today's, you know, you wipe the slate clean. Leicester need to keep a clean sheet today, and obviously he will be integral to it if it happens.
There's a nice quote from Dean Smith in his press conference about Kaglar Soyuncu. He said something along the lines of he saw a fire in his eyes when he spoke to him at training, which proves he wants, in these last 7 games, now 8 if you include last week, there it is there, I saw the fire. He wants to fight for this club in these last 7 games.
Well, and that can only help. That can only help the club, it can help Dean Smith. I don't know if it can help Kaglar Soyuncu, because you know, if you believe the rumours, he's leaving anyway at the end of the season. But you know, he'll want to leave on a high for his own personal reasons.
I think he'll relish today against Costa. Both fiery type of players, aggressive, and that's a battle that will be intriguing. But I think he'll be up for it. And just on that quote, he's that type of player that you can bring in, and you know he's going to perform. He's going to give it your all. Regardless of the situation past this season, he's a type of player that you normally can count on, and I always think he's solid. And as Jerry said, there hasn't been a clean sheet since West Ham, and up until you always know that he performs, and something's had to change. And look amongst the squad and go, he's my centre defender, and he'll give you everything, no nonsense, do the job in hand, and he'll always compete.
And I think rightly so.
That quote was from Dean Smith's pre-match press conference, which took place on Thursday. Let's hear a little snippet from that now then. He was asked if he believes that this squad can stay in the Premier League.
Looks like a question of
last week what I saw on the training ground was, a lift, some confidence in some players, that had probably been missing over the last few weeks. But from the match, the biggest thing that gives me belief, I saw players who cared. We went 2 goals down after 10 minutes, 3-0 down after 24 minutes, but players were worried about. They had a pride in their own performance, they had a pride in the team's performance and a pride in playing for Leicester City. So the fact that they cared, for me, shows me there's an awful lot of character in the team, and when you've got character and a spirit with the talent that we've got, then that should be enough to win football games. Well, it's really important for us that we're together in this. We all want the same goal, which is to win football games and stay in the Premier League, and we can only do that together. What the fans will want to see is players who are working extremely hard for each other, proud to wear the shirt, and we need to give them something to shout about, and hopefully we can go and do that. And I think the last game before COVID, I went there with Villa and we lost 4-0. I think Pepe Reina ran out, missed the ball, and they went 1-0 up. But from that moment, the fans got behind the team, and it was a real tough day then to get back. And we need the fans behind us at the King Power night.
The 8 minutes, we're into that bit that's being added on for the substitution.
I think they've got a threat all over the pitch. Costa's been a real talisman for them in terms of building off him, running the channels, everything you come to expect from him. But they're on a good run of form as well. They've just beat Chelsea 1-0, Brentford 2-0. So they'll certainly be confident.
What you think is the final act of the drama?
The keeper's up and everything. What story this would be if he could get the goal to redeem himself.
Yeah, we've got to decide. Well, we've got to work out first and foremost whether they bring Neves straight back in. They've won 2 games without him. He's probably been a permanent fixture in the team since he's been there. But they've got quality players all over the pitch, and we have to make sure that we nullify the threats that they have and take our game to them. They're very well organised. They like to create overloads on the outside and get crosses into the box. So we're fully aware of them, and we fully respect the football club and the team they are, but we can't play with any fear this weekend, and we won't.
Southampton still to play this weekend. Not a good
Smith
day
calling for his side to play with no fear, Jerry. That's a nice thing to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's important. We've seen in recent games that there probably has been some fear in the player, and obviously with the new management group coming into the club, then that is probably one of the most important things, that messages that have to get across to the players, especially when you're in a position like this. You have to go out and try and put second from bottom to the back of your man, and it's not easy, but you have to continually get that message across and hope that 1 or 2 of your players at least that are starting the game today carry that message onto the pitch, and that then starts to have an effect on the rest of the players.
A good win, but
yeah, that's all he can do. It's no fear trying to take away from the situation, but it is a game which is a must-win. As much as you try and sort of put it in the back of your mind, you've got to now start picking up points, and there's no better place than to start today in terms of a home game against a team. I know they're in a decent amount of form, it's going to be a difficult game, but they're probably looking at it from their perspective is we only need 1 more win. So it might play into Leicester's hands, but can Leicester get a positive start? Can the crowd be behind the team? And whether it's a good game, ugly game, who cares in terms of the performance? 3 points is invaluable today. Needs a win, whether it be a last-minute goal or whatever. 3 points has to be the message in terms of take away the fear, but needs a win today.
Wolves aren't a team that go out and score lots of goals. Again, you probably realise that from from their league position, even though they're pretty much safe at the minute. As Matty says, they need one more win to probably be, you know, to give themselves that cushion they need. And I've spoke about a clean sheet. So you're playing against a team that are defensively hard to break down, but you've got 3 centre forwards on the pitch. In Leicester, you're talking about a team that desperately want and need a clean sheet, playing against a team that are robust but don't bang lots and lots of goals in. So if you can get those 2 ends, and I know it's easy saying that, and it's like an old adage, but the concentration levels in both boxes have to be an absolute premium today if they're going to win this game.
And hopefully, maybe John Terry is the type of person on the training pitch that can get that message across to the defenders?
Absolutely. He has to be. That's why he's here. That's why he's in a coaching job. That's why he's at Leicester City. You know, because he has that experience, vast experience. He has the respect, I would assume, of the rest of the playing staff because of what he's achieved in his career as a player. So he will know things that these players haven't even dreamt about, never mind have thought about or done on a football pitch. So it's important. And I watched his warm-up last week against Man City before the game, and it was very interesting to see the way he warmed up the back 4, or got the back 4 together, the back 5 together in the pre-match warm-up, and it's slightly different to what we've seen in recent times. So, you know, hopefully that can pay off as well. But yeah, vastly important to have someone like John Terry on the coaching staff to pass on that experience.
Again, leadership. When playing against John, you got others around him. The organisation was exceptional. Where there was any space or any threat, he got players to fill that position. Sometimes you could say he could struggle out wide, pulling out wide. It wasn't his biggest strength, but he never found himself in those positions because he got someone filling in for that. Let others do his job. Now, if he can translate that onto the Leicester players in terms of, is there any space in front? Can the defensive midfielder, whether it be Tillemans, Boubakary, Samori, can you come across, fill them gaps, everyone organised, compact, narrow, deal with the danger, no one out of position, distance is right. Now on the pitch, he always delivered that, had good success with Villa in terms of how they went about their business, and if he can transfer a tiny bit of that, Leicester will be much better prepared and for the games with that experience and that know-how how we organise defences.
That is the issue for any coach, manager, assistant manager, whatever it is. Having that wealth of experience and leadership qualities that John Terry has, and getting that transferred from the training ground or from a meeting, watching videos, or whatever you want to call it, onto a football pitch, and those players being able to carry out the information that they've received. That is the biggest issue, and it's something that gives a coach the most joy, is when you see it come to fruition on the pitch. But it can be the most frustrating thing as well when it doesn't happen.
Because for someone like John Terry, as you've mentioned, everything that he's won in the game, he'll be frustrated when he sees simple mistakes.
Absolutely, because he'll know. We all know. Myself and Matt Elliott sit here and watch every game, and it's going through your head what you would do in certain situations, and when you don't see it on the pitch as and when it happens, it's frustrating. And so for him to be in the dugout watching it unfold, and he's playing the game from the dugout, by the way, through his mind, and when in certain situations he doesn't see the right decision being made, it's frustrating for him. And obviously on the flip side, when he sees the right decisions being made, that's a little tick in the box. Well done, JT.
There was a game that took place, the 12:30 kickoff, had a big relevance to Leicester today. Fulham have beaten Leeds United at home. That one finished 2-1, so that's Leeds 4 points ahead of Leicester at the moment. Leicester do know a win today against Wolves will bring them out of the relegation zone, depending on other results, as long as those teams just above them also lose today. Wolves themselves have been on a pretty good run of late, particularly picking up clean sheets. Let's hear now from Liam Keane from the Express and Star and their manager, Julian Lopetegui. Seven points out of a possible 9 in their last 3 games have propelled Wolves to 13th in the Premier League. and within touching distance of safety. Lopetegui's side are 7 points clear now of Forest in 18th, but the Spaniard insists there's still a lot of work to do.
We are not safe yet, and we have to work very hard and to achieve a lot of points. So we have to put the focus in the work that we will have to do, and not the work that we have done. So this is the football, elite football demand you a lot of focus, and we have 7 finals in front of us. Now the first final is against Leicester. We know the kind of match that we are going to find there, and we have to be ready. We are in the middle of the battle. We have to continue.
If you look at his press conferences, he's very consistent in how he plays down Wolves' position at this moment in time, understandably. But he'll know that a win at the King Power puts Wolves in an even better position, and probably is enough points to keep them safe, even if they lost the remaining games. But Wolves, understandably, will want to win every single game, get as many points as possible to make sure that it's not down to chance and it's in their own hands mathematically. So the confidence will be really high, because these last 2 games, it's not just the results. They haven't grinded out the 1-0 and the 2-0 over Chelsea and Brentford. They've genuinely played really well, genuinely created chances, and genuinely defended quite impressively as well. And then you look at the goal that Hwang scored, the second goal against Brentford, the sort of show of unity amongst the squad. There's a good feeling at the moment, particularly amongst the fan base, but also in the dressing room. And those things combined make a really good concoction, because Wolves are in a good place. And look, it's never been an easy game for Wolves going to the King Power. Leicester, you could argue, a wounded animal is sometimes more dangerous, and I think they've got a lot of very good players. The Wolves should be confident of getting a result, I think.
Goals which had been at a premium throughout the season have come slightly easier in the last few games, as well as a first league goal of the season for Diego Costa in the win against Brentford. Daniel Podence is the top scorer for Wolves this season with just 6 goals in all competitions, and Ruben Neves second with 5.
Wolves had gone over a year, up until recent weeks, without a recognised striker scoring in the Premier League. All of those things point to the glaring issue of Wolves, and they just can't score goals. The biggest part of that has been creating chances. Look at the expected goals for each striker. The stats are exceptionally low. But they've marginally got better at that, and I think the Brentford game is a really good example of it. They've got 9 shots on target, some really nice intricate forward play, a lot quicker in the final third, a lot more decisive. If they can carry that on for the next few games, they'll make themselves safe a lot quicker than we probably expected.
That was Julian Lopetegui and Liam Keane from the Express and Star. They're telling us what to expect from Wolves up against a much changed Leicester side today. Certainly formation-wise, there's a change with those 4 attacking players being the headline team news. No James Maddison, he's missing through illness today. So Daka and Tete, we think, will be on the left and right, with Iheanacho in behind Jamie Vardy. Coming up against a Wolves side, Jerry, that have found things a lot easier at the back than they have done going forward this season. I know that Lopetegui took a leaf out of Claudio Ranieri's book. He's been taking his players out for dinners, for pizzas. He's got pizza for the media teams whenever the side have got clean sheets. And recently, that has been what has helped propel Wolves up the table.
Well, there you go. It just shows you that, by being solid and by being hard to beat, it gets you results. Simple as that. And obviously you're talking about their defensive record versus their goal scoring record. And if you get one of those 2 things right, then you're going to win games. And that's what Leicester need to find today. I'd love to start with a clean sheet, because as I've just mentioned, at the other end of the pitch, you've got to fancy Leicester to score goals. It's just how many. I don't think they've scored more than 1 goal in the last 9 games, though, unfortunately for them. So today would be a really good day to put that one to bed. And in fairness, Wolves' record here isn't that great. I don't think they've won here since 2007, if memory serves me right. I've just gone back into the archives there for a moment. So, the omens are decent, but obviously it's a different game under different circumstances. Wolves are in decent form. They're a hard team to break down. Playing, you have to say, an old school 4-4-2.
You don't see that much
no,
anymore,
absolutely.
do you? An actual 4-4-2, not a 4-1-1,
Yeah.
4-4-2, which is always difficult to play against. 2 banks of 4 is hard to break down. They've been good defensively, not prolific in terms of the scoring department, but as you said on the VT, sort of Costa's come into his own in the past couple of games. Looks like his form himself, maybe not as good as when he was in his pomp, but he's been a target, someone who can lead the line. He's always up for the fight, but they've got a bit more energy in their team. As much as Neves is a brilliant player, sometimes that the last 2 games when he's been out the team, Wolves have gone up a gear in terms of their efforts, in terms of in the middle of the park, the energy getting forward, and sometimes the play has gone back to front a lot quicker. As much as Neves dictates the play, it might be a case of it works better for the team without him in the team, although being a very capable player. The one thing I would look on that, although Wolves have been solid defensively and Craig Dawson's come in and offered his experience and been a good signing for Wolves, I'd still think with mobility of Jamie Vardy, Iheanacho, Patson Daka, can you get at him? Can you turn him? Because he can defend the box really well. But in terms of his movement, can you get down the sides of him? Can you face him up 1v1? Because that isn't his best part of his game.
Yeah, it's a key area. I think, you know, looking at the 4-4-2, and you know, Matty's mentioned the 2 banks of 4 really hard to break down. You would expect that Wolves will lie pretty deep when they haven't got the ball. And obviously having that target man and Costa is their outball, their main outball. That's one of the reasons why they're playing a 4-4-2, because they have that target man. That's that outball to him under pressure. So they have to be really quick thinking, Leicester today, with their play. If Matty rightly says they need to isolate Dawson, then they're going to have to do it quickly, because for me, you're just going to see them sit back and defend deep, so the likes of Dawson doesn't get done in behind.
Right, let's hear from Matt Elliott, who is on co-commentary for us this afternoon. He's overlooking what looks like a fairly sunny, nice-looking King Power Stadium today, Matt.
The sun's trying its hardest to break through the cloud. It's just on the border of that, but yeah, nice and brightish out there. Excellent atmosphere, as you would imagine, as it usually is, the King Power, but I think today, I've said it before recently, but everyone's aware of the importance, the magnitude of this game. There's quite a vibrant feel, you know, coming from the stands, but also emanating from the pitch as well. There's bodies everywhere, there's balls everywhere, there's action to have a look at, even in the warm-up everywhere. Craig Shakespeare and John Terry pulling all the first team squad members together in a huddle a few minutes or so ago. Just, I don't know exactly what he was referring to, but he was talking quite animatedly to the group, and perhaps just, you know, a bit of a rallying call and a few little tactical details, a few reminders maybe. But yeah, it's the tannoy's blasting away and the music's on and the scene is set, and Leicester need to make sure they come up with a performance this afternoon.
The atmosphere, Matt, for that Bournemouth game a few weeks ago was really good, wasn't it? Probably up until Bournemouth took the lead, and then naturally, because of what was happening on the pitch, things dissipated slightly in the crowd. But if they repeat that pre-match atmosphere, that first 30 minutes atmosphere, that's what the players and Dean Smith and the new coaching staff need today.
Yeah, that exact thought was running through my mind as I was speaking to you just then. I remember an atmosphere similar not long ago against Bournemouth, and we all know what unfurled then, didn't we? So, you know, things didn't pan out. But I think maybe the players can learn something from that, but I think maybe it's fair to say possibly the supporters as well, because I think there was sort of a bit of anxiety and tension that crept in a negative way. As soon as Leicester went the goal down, all of a sudden the supporters, were, you know, they emitted a sort of a sense of frustration, and that increased the nervousness for the players. And I think if something similar happens today, the supporters have got to remain constant, as have the players, because the players fell apart a little bit in that first half, and I don't think the disappointment of the supporters helped. So they've got to stick with them through thick and thin this afternoon, whichever way it goes. Vent your frustration at the end if it doesn't work, but be behind them from the off and for the duration.
Yep, let's hope that they are. Thank you very much, Matt. We'll hear from you again in about 10 minutes as we build up to kick-off here on Matchday Live on LCFC TV. We're about 15 minutes away from kick-off. Let's get a really quick recap then of today's team news for both Leicester and for Wolves, starting with the Foxes. Of course, and they've got Daniel Everson in goal. As we know, it's a back four today. Victor Christiansen, Wout Faes, Kaglar Soyuncu and Timothy Castagna, with Samari and Tielemans in the holding midfield role. Daka and Tete will be the two wingers, with Iheanacho in behind Jamie Vardy. Wolves coming, as we've been talking about, with a 4-4-2 this afternoon. Two strikers, Diego Costa and Cunha. Sarabia, Lamina, Gomez and Nunes across the midfield, with Totti, Kilman, Dawson and Semedo, the back four, in front of goalkeeper Jose Sa. Right, as we said, we're about 15 minutes away from kick-off. We've been trying to get you in the mood for this game against Wolves. What better way than to look back at some classic goals scored against this opposition?
Goes Alan Smith, Lineker, him off Dodd. Only half cleared. Oh, what a goal from Alan Smith! What a goal that was! Turn Dodd, good ball through to Linex. Lovely goal from Steve Linex, who really thundered that one past John Barrage. Alan Smith turning Dodd. And what a glorious ball through then to Linex. And Barrage on the post had no chance.
Finds Agnew. Looking on this far side for support. Finds it. Gary Mills floats it far post. In comes Roberts. Oh! What a way to start with your new club, Ewan Roberts, at the far post, bullet header.
Scowcroft. Now Ferdinand. And he's teed it up for Shivika. 3-0 to Leicester. An extraordinary scoreline. Good Johnson. Takes the corner, McCarthy headed down. Goalkeeper has it, no! He drops it and it's in! Matt Bryant, third goal in 4 starts for Leicester City. In truth, McCarthy's header didn't have much on it. Goalkeeper, he won't want to see the video of that. Ball is dispossessed from him by Wilfred Undini, and it's down the right flank to Ricardo, driving infield onto Maddison, edge of the box. Ricardo taken out. Maddison scores! He's off the mark at King Power Stadium, and Leicester City have doubled their lead just before half-time. Still goalless on this opening Premier League game of the season, and Ricardo somehow has weaved his way through, and Vardy! And Leicester Seasons has kicked off in style. Ricardo delivering the cross, and Vardy doing what Vardy does. He scores again. Welcome to the new season. Welcome back, Leicester City fans. And there is Jamie Vardy with the first goal of the season.
A repeat of that from Jamie Vardy would be pretty good today. Jerry's got a good record against Wolves. His only Premier League goal this season came at the Molineux against Wolves, of course. So fingers crossed for something similar today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll go back there again, Dan. I'm probably sick of listening to myself, to be honest. But it all starts with a clean sheet for me today. If they can somehow keep a clean sheet, they've got a great chance of winning this game.
I'd agree, whether it's a clean sheet or not, just get a win by hook or crook, whether it's pretty football, ugly football, whatever's needed. Do all you can to try and get that win. It's so important. It's a massive game, but it's now or never really. Try and get them 3 points.
Yeah, this is the first of the 7 remaining games, and they're all absolutely huge for Leicester at the end of this season. The first of those starts in 10 minutes' time. So we'll hand over to our commentary team today of Chris Parrott and Matt Elliott to hopefully take us through a successful 90 minutes here at King Power Stadium.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Leicester is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Leicester philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Good afternoon and welcome to King Power Stadium on this April Saturday for a huge game for Leicester City. Dean Smith's first match in charge. Wolves are the visitors. King Power Stadium is filling up very nicely indeed. The Premier League ball is on the plinth and we await the two teams very shortly. 7 games to go. And after Dean Smith's first match was away at Manchester City, this perhaps, in practice, is his first opportunity for points as Leicester manager. The start of a huge 7 days which will define the rest of the season and may just define whether Leicester City have the chance to stay in the Premier League. I'm Chris Parrott, alongside me the former Leicester City captain Matt Elliott. Atmosphere's building really nicely, the flags are waving, and everybody, you, me, the 30,000 here, Dean Smith, his coaching staff, the players, all know the importance of the next 90 minutes.
Yeah, everyone knows, and everyone, I hope certainly the players are ready for action, aren't they, and prepared for what lays ahead. Leicester's build-up pre-match is as good as pretty much anyone's across the country, really. The way they do it, the vibrancy that it exudes, and the energy that is there before the game. Can it be transmitted to the pitch itself when the players actually get on their way?
2.5 months since the last win over Tottenham here. 1 month since the last points at Brentford when they came from behind. And having lost 8 of their last 9 games, time is beginning to tick against the Foxes. One good result already today. Leeds have been beaten at Fulham. And Dean Smith will hope that he can have the type of impact that Julian Lopetegui has had at Wolves and Roy Hodgson has had at Crystal Palace. Those two have pieced together a couple of wins on the bounce, and it has totally altered the mood at those two clubs. And if Dean Smith can pick up a couple of victories here, it'll be the same at King Power Stadium. And this is a really good opportunity. No disrespect to Wolves, Matt, but it's not Manchester City.
Oh, that's true. What a good time to start it would be, wouldn't it? And not before time, you have to say, but in terms of Dean Smith's time at the club, I think most people will forgive the result. At the Etihad last week, you know, expectancy levels weren't particularly high. At one stage it was concerning in terms of damaging the possible goal difference, but that was avoided to a large degree. But yeah, this is when the back end of the season really kicks in, doesn't it? You know, a lot of people around Leicester City are sort of negative about it because of the surprise element of being caught in this situation, I think, but no more reason to be really than, you know, other clubs in and around Everton, Leeds, Forest, Southampton, etc. They're just as apprehensive, just as pensive, and it's amazing what can happen in a week of football, especially this week coming up. Well, the 3 games in space of well, it's not 8 days, is it, because the Monday fixture now, but the best part of, and we could be looking at a different scenario, but the work needs to start right now.
Here come the two teams. 7 games to go, and everyone will be crucial for Leicester City as they fight for their Premier League survival. Wolves are at King Power Stadium today for Dean Smith's first home match in charge of the Foxes. There is a lot at stake on Filbert Way. A win could move Leicester out of the bottom 3. The blue and white flags are waving all around us. It's a super atmosphere, and the Leicester supporters are desperately hoping to see their team pick up 3 points. Youri Tielemans back at home. Wolves come here off the back of 2 straight wins, which has lifted them seemingly out of the relegation battle. But here comes Dean Smith, the first time he's walked out of that tunnel as Leicester City's manager. He applauds the supporters, they applaud him back. And along with Craig Shakespeare, the Leicester legend, and John Terry, that is the coaching staff that Leicester have entrusted to secure their Premier League survival. Those 3 names have just been read out, and King Power Stadium rises to acknowledge the man that everyone inside King Power Stadium hopes can keep Leicester up. Team news, and Leicester have been forced into some very notable changes. James Maddison is ill with a sickness bug and doesn't make it today. Harvey Barnes is also absent again with a hamstring injury. So all 3 of Leicester's strikers start together. Jamie Vardy, Patson Daka and Kelechi Iheanacho. It is a back 4 today after the 3 that began at Manchester City. Daniel Everson's in goal. Castagna, Fast, Sonchu and Christensen in front of him. Midfield 2 is interesting as well. Soumare and Tielemans, with Tete, Iheanacho and Daka behind Jamie Vardy, whose last Premier League goal came almost 6 months ago against Wolves. It means the likes of Shrewsbury Hall and Sutar and Ndidi are only amongst the subs. Sun has peeked out of the clouds here in Leicestershire. The Leicester players all acknowledging each other with some words of wisdom as Youri Tielemans and Max Kilman head towards the referee Andy Madley for the toss of the coin. This is the Wolves side. It's unchanged from the win over Brentford. So Julian Lopetegui has decided not to bring Ruben Neves straight back in. 4-4-2, Jose Sarr in goal, Nelson Semedo, Max Kilman, Craig Dawson and Totti are the back 4. Mateus Nunes, João Gomez, Mario Lemina and Pablo Sarabia across the midfield, with Mateus Cunha and Diego Costa up front. Diego Costa and John Terry, by the way, exchanged a lovely moment before kick-off. Spine-tingling atmosphere Leicester City fans doing their best. They will be vital today and for the rest of the season. But can those on the pitch give those in the stand something to hope for, something to celebrate? Referee Andy Madley has a look at his watch. Leicester all in blue, kicking away from the Kop in the first half. Wolves in their change strip of the grey. And we are ready to go on a huge Saturday afternoon. Jamie Vardy rolls it back to Wout Faes. Leicester need to start picking